Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial. As we're coming up on the 4th of July, and because we've already had the first 100-degree day of the year here in Camden, New Jersey, we've been thinking a lot about steel beach parties, and realized that that's probably a term that many of you guys who aren't either former military yourselves or super autistic about battleships might not have ever heard about. So, what the heck is a steel beach party? Honestly, once you hear the term, it's pretty easy to figure out the rest. It is a party that ship's company would have. Oftentimes it happens on the fantail or the flight deck of a ship, depending on the ship's size and that sort of stuff. And it's usually a full-on, like, American-style cookout. Many of these ships actually carry grills on board, or split open 55-gallon drums that they can put fuel in and a grating over and use like grills. It's actually really surprising how many ships have that. Battleship New Jersey's forklift that would have been used for moving shells around here on the flight deck in the 60s and the 80s was propane powered, so there were propane cans carried on board. But they had a straight up cookout on the deck of the ship. The ship's cooks came out. They grilled things like normal. They would have prepared other traditional Americana dishes, your potato salads and those sorts of things, and done an actual cookout. On some ships, during certain time periods, there is permission for a certain amount of beer to be carried and issued. Often it's something like 2 cans per sailor. So sometimes that would be part of the cookout. Oftentimes, these sorts of steel beach parties happen right at the midpoint of a cruise or patrol, especially a long one. If you're doing a normal 30-day patrol, you probably aren't going to do something at day 15. But if you end up with a double patrol or something like that, which often happens, then they may well hold one of these at the midpoint, especially so you're operating in the Pacific or the Mediterranean and you've got that sort of summer weather. It's very common to do these sorts of things. Now, why is the Navy throwing parties like this on warships? It's entirely for morale. You're away from home for a long time. These are the sorts of things that you miss. So why wouldn't you throw one of these parties, like have some nice stuff that you can throw on the grill on board for such an occasion? It's not even unheard of for a ship's patrol to be extended extra long and for the commanding admiral or whoever to throw some of this stuff on a helicopter and fly it out to the ship so that they can have a party like this. Maybe not like in the documentary Under Siege. You rarely get Miss July 1989 and Tommy Lee Jones's band coming along for those sorts of things. But yeah, there's enough basis in reality there. Those sorts of parties do happen on board ships. And that's not the only kind of occasion, although it may be the most common. They do very similar sorts of cookouts, oftentimes during tiger cruises, especially when you've got large groups of people on board. It's often easier to do that sort of stuff on the fantail than moving through the mess deck. And there are other kinds of parties. We've got some great footage of the Marine Corps birthday. So the ship's Marine detachment had a celebration. The battleship's birthday was often a celebrated event with the ship's cooks making cakes and things like that for it. And then, of course, you have all of your traditional holidays when you're underway, or even sometimes when you're in port. We've got some footage of the battleship hosting a family Thanksgiving on board. And I'm not quite sure if that's for sailors who are on watch, so their families come out and they do the whole thing on board, or if it's the families that they don't really have anything else going on, so it's more of a charity event. I'm not quite sure what the background of that event was, but it's an event that we have evidence of happening on this ship. And so Christmases, Thanksgivings, 4th of Julys, all of those sorts of things would be celebrated on board. Speaking of, if you're interested in coming on board Battleship New Jersey and celebrating the 4th of July, we've got 2 events for you that are going to be steel beach parties. We've got Saturday the 28th, this upcoming Saturday. There's going to be fireworks on the Delaware River and you can come out and experience those. We'll have some of the Battleship's cooks on board making hot dogs and pretzels and things like that. And then again, we're doing the exact same event on Friday, the 4th of July. There's a link in the website down below if you'd like to investigate tickets and see about coming out and celebrating the 4th of July with Battleship New Jersey. See you on board. What's your favorite holiday to celebrate? Which one would you be the most upset about being stuck on a battleship during instead of spending with your family? I think Thanksgiving would be really hard for me. I really love eating holidays, so Thanksgiving has always been one of my favorites. But let us know in the comment section down below. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State, also from a number of other businesses and private individuals like yourselves. We really appreciate your support. There's a link in the description below if you'd like to donate to support the museum. You can also support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing so more people find about the museum and our channel. Thanks for watching.